Alright, so I'm going to show you guys how I made these sweaters by layering them with HTV and DTV. Alright, what's up YouTube land? Welcome to another episode of Household Journeys. So on today's episode, what I wanted to do was I wanted to take these garments that I dyed and I want to layer some DTV on here. So as you can see, I already made a Bulbasaur one here. Now the colored parts, so the green, the teal, the red, and the pink tongue there, that's all DTV. The black that you see there, that's regular HTV. And the reason I did it like this is because I don't like the way that black comes out on DTV. Because the black is ink-based, I don't feel like the black looks very good. I often feel like the black looks a little bit faded, especially when you use printed black on black fabric. You notice that there's a difference. So instead I used regular black HTV, use that as my base, and then I put the colored DTV on top of that. And as you can see, it makes the blacks look a lot nicer. Since I'm doing Charmander right now, the way I did it is I just copied this picture here off of Google, and then I made an outline, all the black parts and the parts that are going to be colored. So in this case, the eyes, the tongue, the belly, the fire, those all have color. So I blacked those out. And then on a separate layer, I redid the colors. So you have the teal in the eyes, the pink in the tongue, kind of beige looking belly there, and then the yellow and red for the fire. Now the orange, I'm not doing the orange because the garment itself is already orange. So once I created those two layers, by the way, I did this through Photoshop. Once I created these two layers, I uploaded them onto the Cricut website. So as you can see here, here's the black base, and then here's the colored base. So once you upload it onto Cricut, you just have to be sure that the sizes match. So if I drag that over and play around with it a little bit, that looks pretty good right there. You can see how everything lines up. Another way that I do it is just to be sure that my measurements are correct. So I'll take this black layer, I'll select it, I'll go to Edit, Free Transform, and right up here in the top corner, so right up here, it tells me that it is 7 inches tall. Now, by default, this will be in pixels. So if you just right click it, you can change it to any format of measurement that you want. So in this case, I want inches. So the black base layer is going to be 7 inches tall. And when you lock it, the height and the width will automatically be proportional to each other. So if you change one dimension, the program will automatically change the other dimension for you. So when I'm in the Cricut workspace here, I just make sure that the black base is 7 inches in height. And then I do the same thing for the colored layer as well. So if I go back over to Photoshop, I select the colored layer, go to Edit, Free Transform, and up here in the top, it'll tell me that the height of just the colored layer is 6.33 inches. And so when I go back to the Cricut workspace, I select my colored layer and I just make sure that I type in 6.33 inches, and then the width will automatically change to stay proportional to the height. So now that my two layers are ready to go, what I'm going to do is I will print and cut the colored layer, and the black base is going to be just a regular cut. All right, so the Cricut's doing its thing. Important to note that the black base is mirrored, but the DTV does not need to be mirrored. All right, so final's been cut. I'm gonna go ahead and weed this out. All right, so there we are. There's the black base. So everything that got weeded out gets colored in by the sweater. And then I'm just going to print the DTV that will fill in the black spots. Okay, so the black layer is done. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn that one off. And I'm left with just the color file here, the colored layer. So that is a print and cut. So I'm gonna go ahead and make that. Okay, and I'm just gonna position this towards the center a little bit. That looks good right there. I'm gonna go ahead and Now on this one, I am not going to mirror it. I'm going to keep it as is. All right, so here's a paper of the DTV that I have. The paper side, the side that you want printed on, it feels like regular paper. The other side has a smooth, plasticky kind of feel. So aside from the color difference, the plasticky side is the side you do not want printed on. You want to print on the side that feels like paper. So for my printer, the paper side is going to go face down because when it comes out, the paper side will face up. So whenever I start doing this, I like to add the bleed. So what that helps do is that it'll extend the colors slightly. It'll give it a little bit of a border so that way you don't see any of the white outlining when it's cut. And then for myself, I like to use the system dialog box with my own printer settings. Go to print, preferences, and then I'll select best quality. Okay, there we are. And if you notice, there's a little bit of gray border right there around the nails. The belly has a little bit of a border around it. The teal eyes, the flames. So again, that's the bleed. So if your pre-cut is calibrated enough, it should cut super close to the actual color itself. The bleed is just to help give a little bit of cushion so that way you don't see any of the white. Okay, so just face up. I'm going to put this on my mat. Okay, so now I just feed it through like normal. So right now what's happening is that the Cricut is reading the registration marks. So if you have your Cricut properly calibrated, it'll know exactly where to cut so that way there's no offset. And then once it's done scanning, you don't need to do anything. It just starts automatically cutting on its own. So that way you don't have to worry about the mat unloading for whatever reason. All right, so now that I have this printed and cut, I'm going to go ahead and weed this out like I would anything else. Okay, there we are. Now again, these tiny little details are kind of bothersome. All right, now I have some transfer paper here because this will not transfer over onto a garment as is. So because the adhesive for this is on the back side, so we have to put this onto adhesive sheet, kind of like how you would see something like regular HTV. All right, so now that all gets picked up to the transfer paper. Now for the little details that I missed out on, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to flip this around. So I'm going to use this and I'm going to put it on, kind of figure out where things go. Drop that one in there. So I got a lot of this white spotchiness. I have no idea if that's going to be better for the transfer or not. So I am going to do a test piece. All right, my apologies, but I didn't realize I wasn't recording. So I did a press for the garment here without anything on, just to get the moisture out. And right now I just pressed the black base. Now, this is not hot peel, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just take my cold iron, run it across, and that cools it down really fast. I do hate these cold peels though. I always feel nervous peeling this off. Okay. All right, there we are. Which, by the way, I tested this spotchy piece on a separate garment, and the spotchiness had no effect whatsoever, so we should be okay. Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead and line all this up. Another press. 325 for 15 seconds. Okay, now this is a cold peel. So I'm going to go ahead and take my cold iron and just run it over a handful of times. And then, so on the garment itself, the spotchiness didn't have any effect, but it did get onto the black vinyl. So that sucks right there. So you can see right there how that white stuff got onto the black vinyl, which that sucks. You can really see it on the eye there. Doesn't look like it can come off either. Otherwise, looks pretty, other than that, it looks decent. It's for my kid, so my kid's not going to complain about it. All right, so let's try this again. Get the moisture out. Okay. I'm going to put down the Pikachu black base. Okay, looks pretty center. Okay, this is a cold peel. So with the cold iron, I'm gonna go around a couple of times. Okay, should be good right there. These cold peels always make me super nervous. All right, there we are. Okay, looks pretty good. All right, so here's the face. So you kind of see how that will look right there. But this time, I'm actually going to use the actual Pikachu plastic adhesive sheet in order to transfer this over. So let's see if I can line this up well enough. It doesn't even need to be lined up well, really. Yeah, so something like that should be pretty good. Oh, does not want to come off. Okay, give that a good press. Mouth doesn't want to really come off there too well. Okay, there we go. Now it's transferred without any blemishes. So I can just put this right on. And that looks pretty good right there. Let's go ahead and press this again. Again, another cold peel. Bam, perfect. So those transfer sheets, screw those transfer sheets. Just use the exact piece of adhesive that you use for the black base here. That worked out so much better. Look at that, it looks really good. And you can see what I mean here by that bleed. See, if I didn't put the bleed, that would just be a solid white line right there. So that helps kind of blend it in a little bit. So yeah, that came out really good. I really like it. All right, one more time. This time I'm going to be doing Squirtle. All right, so there you go. That looks really good. So if you had seen my other video on how to dye clothes, this is basically what I was alluding to. I wanted to make a sweatsuit of the main starter Pokemon for my daughter because I'm trying to indoctrinate her into the world of Pokemon. So there we have outfit for Squirtle, one for Charmander, Bulbasaur, And the last one, of course, for Pikachu there. So wrapping this video up, I just wanted to mention a couple of troubleshooting things that I experienced doing this. So Bulbasaur was the first one that I did, and I think I might have tried 3 or 4 times with the DTV, and that was simply because every time I did the print to cut, the cut was always offset. I'm not really sure what was causing that issue, but once, I mean, it was calibrated and it was still not cutting correctly. So I think this might have helped. I would hold my hand under, or I would put my hand underneath the mat to try and help it with some stability as it would roll in and out of the pre-cut. I want to say that helped out a little bit, but I can't say for sure. With the Charmander, same thing. I had to do the Charmander DTV twice because the first cut was offset. However, the Pikachu and the Squirtle, those worked out fine first try. So with that being said, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. This has been Household Journeys. Take care, people.